I'm Chris, you're watching FRAG-MENTAL, a nice relaxed one for you today. I'm having a coffee and I'm unboxing two discontinued gems from the Tom Ford Private Blend collection, and I'll let you know my thoughts on some of my other favourites from the Private Blend. So stay tuned to FM. So that word that haunts us fragrance lovers, discontinued, has been applied to two very popular Tom Ford Private Blend fragrances. The axe is coming down. I've seen a list, there's been a list floating around, and the list had all the fragrances that were carrying on, being sold, and all the fragrances that were being discontinued. And two Private Blend fragrances that I just really love. I have smelled them a little bit in store, but I've worn clones, I've really enjoyed the clones, and I've thought, okay, at some point I really do want to have a bottle of both these Private Blends. There are other Private Blends I would like as well, but as yet they have not been announced that they're being discontinued, but these two have. And I went and paid full retail for these. I paid £170. Stings a little bit. I don't often pay full retail. I will usually find deals or buy partial bottles in Facebook groups, but I didn't want to sleep on this one. I didn't want to waste any time, because when something is discontinued, they go fast, and I've fallen prey to this before. I've thought, oh, it still seems to be available online, I'll maybe just wait a little while. A few days later, they're gone, and if you want to purchase anything, you've got to be paying a lot more money than you would have paid even at full retail. And so I knew I wanted these fragrances, so I've done it. Here we are. I've got full bottles. The two fragrances, there were more that were being discontinued, but these are two that I knew I definitely wanted to pick up. So I kind of thought it was worth paying full retail, and I don't pay retail often, so I thought I'd treat myself. I think we're allowed a treat now and then, aren't we? So the two fragrances that have been discontinued are Plum Japanese and Oud Mineral. I was surprised at both of these because they're great fragrances. Maybe it's to do with ingredients, materials, I don't know. Maybe they just want to make room for other Private Blend fragrances. Maybe these just aren't big sellers for the brand. Whatever reason, they are discontinued. I'm particularly surprised with Plum Japanese because this one gets a lot of love. This one often comes up as people's favourite from the Private Blend collection. I have smelled this in store, but only on strips, so I've never tried the actual Tom Ford Plum Japanese on skin. I do have the Alexandria Fragrances clone, which is fantastic, and I have the perfume parlour clone of Oud Mineral, which is called Wood Substance, and again, it's fantastic. And as I always say with perfume parlour, if the perfume parlour one wows me, then you know, the original must definitely be worth investing in, because often the perfume parlour ones are close, sometimes very, very close, sometimes you can't tell a difference. And I just thought that if the perfume parlour one was great, the Tom Ford original must be maybe a little bit greater. So I'm going to unbox these, I'm going to put them both on skin, and I'm just going to give you a first impressions. I do, particularly this one, I've worn the perfume parlour one a lot, so I'm more familiar with this, but I'm just going to spray them on skin, let you know what I think, and then I'm going to just introduce you to the rest of the fragrances from the Private Blend that I own, and I'll just tell you briefly a little bit about them. All right, let's dive into these. So Oud Mineral is actually a little bit more available than Plum Japanese at the moment. I purchased this from Harvey Nichols. I just checked before filming this video, and it is still available at Harvey Nicks. It probably won't be available for that long, but they've obviously got stock, which they're still selling. All the other places were sold out. I couldn't find, Oud Mineral is available at Harvey Nichols and Space NK. Definitely, maybe a few other places online, but some of the bigger places like Selfridges and Harrods, they're out of stock. So you're starting to see already that it's starting to disappear from the stores, from the shelves. So, oh God, that is it is a beautiful thing when you take a Private Blend bottle out of its box and there's no fingerprints on the shiny bit on the top. There's no marks on the bottle. It just looks absolutely pristine. It's unsprayed. And these private blend bottles, I love the private blend collection. I know it gets a bit of stick that recently, since the Estee Lauder took over, that the quality has maybe dipped and they've become a little bit more diluted, a bit more mainstream. That may be the case, but there are still many in the private blend collection that I love, and I particularly love the presentation. So Oud Mineral, Eau de Parfum, 50ml, here we go, let's have a spray. So what I get from the perfume parlour is this seaweedy, ambergris, seaside type of note, which if I'd have looked at that note breakdown and I was only deciding to buy a fragrance based on the notes, then I probably wouldn't have bothered with this one. But because I enjoyed the perfume parlour one so much, the notes just worked with me. It reminds me of the seaside, childhood memories. This is just great. It's salty, seaweed, but there's some depth to it. There's some sweetness, there's some woodiness in here as well. So sometimes ambergris fragrances and seaweedy type accords can be a little bit too much for me. I find them a little bit, a bit sickening actually. It can go too far. That sea salty accord can go too far for me. But this is just the right balance of being intriguing, being very wearable. That is beautiful actually. I do think maybe this feels stronger than the perfume parlour, maybe. I would have to compare them side by side, but it definitely is very similar to it. So I think this is a fragrance that I could easily wear all year round. It's a very mass appealing fragrance, very easy to wear scent, that really does remind you of the ocean, of the beach, of the coast. But I think I could wear it all year round, but I think particularly it will work really well in the summer. So Oud Mineral will be one that I'll definitely be wearing, maybe in the spring as well, but I'll definitely be wearing a lot through the summer. And that's just great. And yeah, this is leaving us, so very glad to have this now in my collection, Oud Mineral. Let me know what you think of Oud Mineral. I feel like it's not a massively hyped private blend, but whenever I talk about it, a lot of people say, yeah, I really like that fragrance. It's a great fragrance. So let me know what your thoughts on Oud Mineral are, and are you thinking of picking this one up? As I said, Harvey Nichols or Space NK, currently you can still get Oud Mineral, but a lot of stores it's already started to disappear. So if you really want it, don't sleep on it. Plum Japanese. Now, I actually bought this direct from Tom Ford a few days ago, and I checked as soon as I'd purchased it, like the day after, and it was out of stock. So I think I literally bought the last one. So I am responsible for clearing Tom Ford out of their last reserves of Plum Japanese. It's been discontinued. That doesn't necessarily mean that they don't have a pallet sitting somewhere in a warehouse that they're going to get in store, and it might, you know, they might have a few more to sell. But as of now, this is currently out of stock on the Tom Ford website, and if it's been discontinued, who knows if it will ever come back in stock ever again. The only other place that have this currently are Harvey Nichols. So Harvey Nichols, you can get both of these fragrances full retail, but as I say, if you really want them, you're going to be paying a lot more than that if you want to pick them up, say off eBay further down the line. And here we go, another pristine private blend bottle. There's only one other private blend that I've bought new, and that was Tuscan leather. So I've not experienced too many of these clean, fingerprint-free private blend bottles, but I think they're gorgeous. Plum Japanese. Now this is one that is definitely, from my memory of the Alexandria clone, is going to be a great fragrance to wear through the autumn and the winter. It's rich, it's fruity, it's resinous. Oh, that is good. Wow, wow. I love Oud Mineral. I really love Plum Japanese. I can see why so many people enjoy this one. Oh, this is incredible. You get a juicy plum, and there's some florals, some light florals, but there's a richness, there's a depth, there's a booziness to this, which I love. I think that's what makes it for me, the booziness. That is just an incredible scent. It's really well put together. It's really smooth, beautiful blend. Why is this discontinued? I don't know. Maybe it's the materials that they can't source, but that is superb. Okay, right, I'm really glad that I bought these. Plum Japanese will be getting a lot of wear, definitely, this autumn. and probably Oud Mineral as well, because it's new and I like to wear my new fragrances. Yeah, so what do you think about these being discontinued? It's a bit of a shame. Don't sleep on Plum Japanese. If you like those fruity, rich, boozy fragrances, that is lovely. It's really nice. Not sure about performance and longevity on this one yet. The Alexandria one was very good. I don't think it projects as much as some of the other private blends, but maybe this one will. I will report back. So those are my 2 discontinued gems that I've picked up. Let me know if you know there's any more Tom Ford private blends that are discontinued, and if I should pick those up. I'd really love a few more from the private blend, and but as yet they're not discontinued. So I think I just need to you know, hold fire on the private blend purchases for a little while after purchasing 2 at full retail. In fact, can we just have a moment to think about my wallet, my poor wallet? Oh dear. Oh well, I think it's worth it. All right, the rest of my private blend collection. I have 2 of the blue fragrances. So I have Neroli Portofino, which is a stunner. It gets a bit of stick for not being the best performing fragrance, and it isn't. I can wear this all year round. I think it's easily a fragrance you can wear all year round, but because of its quite fleeting performance, you may be getting 4 or 5 hours where you're detecting it and where it's projecting a little bit. Summer's the best time, because when your skin's a little bit warmer, I think for me, it seems to boost the performance of this. But to wear this in the summer, it's so invigorating and refreshing and just reminds you of the coast. And if you do want to boost performance of this, then throw a bit of Molecule 01 underneath it, and that will just help boost the performance a little bit of that. Same thing with Mandarino di Amalfi Acqua. This one is a great summer fragrance. Even more refreshing and sparkling and invigorating than Neroli Portofino. Obviously Mandarin is a very prominent note in this. The Acqua version is an EDT. I haven't smelled the Eau de Parfum version of Mandarino di Amalfi. I think it's probably maybe a little richer, a little thicker. But this Eau de Toilette, for me, as a summer fragrance, performs really well. No complaints at all. Again, bit of Molecule 01 if you just want to boost the performance a little bit. But one of my favourite blue fragrances or summery fragrances, full stop, to wear Mandarino di Amalfi Acqua. It's beautiful. I think maybe the Acqua version is perhaps, I don't know for sure, but maybe a little more kind of invigorating and refreshing than the Eau de Parfum version. All right, now we're getting into the richer fragrances. These are probably my top 3 Tom Ford private blends, actually. The first one, Tobacco Oud. So with this, obviously we get the tobacco, but we get this resinous, rich, woody, balsamic fragrance with a gorgeous booziness running through it. There's a bit of a whiskey accord on this one. Oh, it's just a superb colder weather fragrance. I like wearing this when I've got a knitted jumper on, it's cold outside, I spray this on and I get some on the jumper as well, and it is just so comforting but potent and powerful, and it's filled with attitude. It really jumps off the skin, it's really noticeable, it lasts a long time. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little animalic as well. Superb fragrance. Not for the faint of heart. If you like your lighter fragrances, if you're more into you know, your freshies, then Tobacco Oud is gonna be a bit of a faceful. It's a heavy hitter. But if you're into your rich, powerful fragrances, boozy fragrances, then Tobacco Oud is absolutely stunning. Now, this one was one that really ignited my love, or one of the fragrances that ignited my love for fragrance collecting and for purchasing fragrances, and it's Oud Wood. And it's a classic, it's iconic, it's refined, it's sophisticated. There's some cardamom and vanilla and spices. There's obviously other things like this now, but at the time this came out, I think in 2007, this was a game changer. It was one of those fragrances that dared to do something different, like a lot of the earlier Tom Ford private blends. And this gets complimented a lot. This is often talked about by a lot of women saying that they love oud wood. It's one of their favourites, full stop, of any fragrance. It's got enough about it that it's noticeable and it's sexy, but it's not too heavy, it's not too rich, it's not too divisive, very mass appealing, but it just smells sensual and quality. Oud wood is a classic. I bought this as a partial, so I'm not sure what year this is from, but it smells great to me. People criticise oud wood for its performance, and yeah, it's not a beast, but I get fairly decent performance off it. I'll get 6 or 7 hours. If they were to make this a thicker, richer, bigger performing fragrance, I think you would lose what is so characteristic and what is so charming about oud wood. If it was a thicker fragrance, if it was a more robust fragrance, it wouldn't be oud wood anymore. And Oud Wood Intense obviously went that route, and it's not as popular. Maybe that's getting discontinued as well, actually. But Oud Wood, iconic fragrance, true classic. If you've not invested in any private blend fragrances at all yet, try Oud Wood first, sample Oud Wood, because that would be a great place to start with the private blend. This one is one of my favourites. As you all know, Tuscan leather. This is definitely more potent, more powerful, and more divisive than Oud Wood. A lot of females, including my wife, don't particularly enjoy this. I think a lot obviously do, but I know a lot of guys have problems that their partners don't always enjoy this as much as they would like them to. But I don't know why, I just find this really, oh, it's so incredible. And again, when this came out, this was a new fragrance, a new smell, a new DNA. It has since been cloned, it has since been emulated by other very expensive niche brands, as has Oud Wood. They take these very popular and iconic DNAs and they rework them a little bit, and they maybe put their own twist, but they wouldn't exist if it weren't for these game-changing fragrances. Tuscan leather is raspberry and leather and jasmine sambac, and it's so potent and powerful. This is one of the most assertive fragrances that I own. It's got tons of attitude. I feel really inspired with confidence when I wear this fragrance. I'll put it on and it'll give me an extra spring in my step. Tuscan leather. George, my friend, the fragrance apprentice, came over. He wore this recently, and to smell it off someone else was incredible as well. It kind of reignites your passion for it, because it's a little bit different when someone else is wearing a fragrance and you're getting wafts from them. So there we go, Tuscan leather. Those are my favourite of the private blends that I currently own. I have the discontinued gems that I think are great additions to my private blend collection. Really looking forward to wearing those. Glad I've managed to pick those up before they completely disappear and prices go right up there. I would also like to pick up Tobacco Vanille, Noir de Noir. So there's a few from the private blend that I've still to get. Amber Absolute, I think, is gorgeous as well. That's my private blend collection. I now have 7 fragrances, so it's growing. Let's move them over there and line them all up. So not bad, not looking too bad. I'm quite happy with that. I feel like I need maybe a red one or a different colour in there as well, but none of those really have appealed to me yet as much as these have. All right, there we go. Let me know what you think about the Tom Ford private blend. Are you thinking of picking up these 2 that I have that are discontinued? Do you think I've wasted my money by paying full retail? You know, years ago when I liked fragrances but I wasn't collecting fragrances, £170 would have been astronomically ridiculous. I would never even have entertained the notion of paying that. But now, when you get into it, when it becomes a hobby, suddenly, you know, you think it's worth it. You can justify the cost because you understand more about how a fragrance is put together and why maybe it is so expensive, even though some people will say private blend is overpriced. But at the end of the day, you put your value in a fragrance based on how much you enjoy it. And if you pay £170 for a fragrance and you think that is worth the enjoyment and the pleasure you get from it, in my eyes, that's good value. I'm going to leave it there. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found it useful. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, keep tuning into FM, keep smelling good, and I'll see you in the next one.